Okay, and welcome to Champions of War, and welcome War Gamers. We're going to be doing a review because I just got back from Cancon, one of Australia's largest tournaments. They did have new people running it this year, from what I heard, although it was my first time going to Cancon. But there was a lot of sports and secondary points that could be up for grabs. You know, if you have display boards and painting and those sorts of things, which is a part of the hobby. Bit of a controversial topic amongst more of the competitive players. But I thought I'd do a quick review. You know, I was there firsthand, insider's perspective about how things went, reviewing the ladder, who finished in the top 8, what was the elimination finals like, and then maybe lastly I'll just quickly touch over some kruleboyz things for myself and a couple of the other guys that were there, and yeah, we'll wrap it up in that towards the end of the video. But to start with, let's jump into the ladders and what we can do on that front. So if we can see here in the top 8, we've got, let me just move my webcam, we can see here we've got Nathan Thompson coming first. He won the whole thing, even in the elimination finals. Then we've got Joel Graham. Now Nathan Thompson, Joel Graham, both really good Warhammer players. Joel Graham is constantly ranked top 10 in the world, especially on points wise, and he's probably one of Australia's best players. Nathan Thompson, again, honourable mention. He's a great player, been playing for a long time, and he definitely has the potential of doing a lot of damage, which he's showing with his KO list. Now KO winning the whole thing, you got Rule the Skies as his grand strat, he's got Barak Nar, Inspired as his triumph. Okay, now being, obviously he's got his Caradon code there, but with the leaders, you know, he's got his Archanaut Admiral, classic, Aether Chemist, nice, Aetheric Navigator, awesome, Archanaut Company, he's got 2 double reinforced of them, the Grunstock Thunderers, which is something that you do see most KO armies, but you know, these are where people start to deviate slightly here and there. You got the Gun Hauler, Endrin Riggers. You know, some lists you might see running a lot of Endrin Riggers, and some run it like this with your more Archanaut companies and more of the Thunderers. Then he's got 1 Ironclad. Being able to be 1-drop, especially for KO, is huge. They can just go in there, load everything up in the Ironclad, teleport around, do their shenanigans, disembark, shoot, rally on 4s. They're a really annoying army to deal with, especially with being in that, you know, the Ironclad, and they just teleport across the board. They give you turn 1, they fight for the turn 1 to 2 double turn and try and lift as much stuff as possible. If you don't finish off a squad, and this is why they like to double reinforce a lot of their units, is so that way if you don't finish off the entire squad, there's quite a lot of wounds you need to do in one hit. You don't finish him off, he just disembarks him, rallies on 4-ups, and he's fine. He just gets another 5, 6, 7 models back, beautiful. If he rolls spikes hot, you know, it's crazy. On a 4-up, you got a 50% chance to bring back a model. You're just getting free points there. And then you can just disembark, you can move into safety, control objectives, controlling the map, dishing out a lot of damage. It's a really good list, really solid. Good job to Nathan Thompson, did a fantastic job there. Joel Graham bringing the Flesh Eater Courts. This is not the new book, it's the old book, so I'm assuming that he was just doing a good old send-off with the old Flesh Eater Courts, because they will no longer be around. They're getting a whole new battle tome, whole new rework, which I had the pleasure, or maybe not so pleasure, of versing it yesterday. I've never seen the book before, the new book, and it did slap me around. I was pretty much tabled by top of round 3. In saying that, I ran a different kind of list that I don't normally run, very glass cannony. He was 1-drop, I was 2-drop, he got priority, he obviously made me go first, I had to move up. I was running 18 Bold Boys in that list, obviously being kruleboyz. I couldn't get a shooting off, I had to move forward. Lost a whole round of shooting in the first round. He charged in, got control of the center of the map, and then he won the prio for the double turn as well, which really, really hurt me. It was very rough, but they get their point. they get to their 6 points very quickly. Like they got their own command points there. But I won't go too much into that because that's not what this video is about. We can go on that another time. But sorry, I got a bit sidetracked there. Flesh Eater Courts, Joel Graham, fantastic player. No doubt, no. Everyone expected him to finish in the top 8. Everyone expected him to get it to the top tables, which he did, and he did very honourably, especially with an old, outdated book. He ran his Ghoul King on Royal Terrorgeist, 450 points. Nice little meat cleaver there to come in and do a bunch of damage and keep things alive. You got your Abhorrent. You got another Ghoul King here, just your foot hero, and then your Vargulf, the Courtier. Now, as his battle line, he had the Crypt Ghouls, 30 of them, Crypt Horrors, 6 of those, and then your Royal Beast Flayers. Now, I won't go too much into this sort of list. He did a really good job with it, but, you know, in a couple of weeks, the new tome, or the tome is already pretty much dropped, so no point going too heavily into this. He just did a really good job. Movement-wise, he took advantage, and he used his experience to carry himself through to those top tables. Luca Forrester. This is one of the guys that I play with personally, and I had a good opportunity to have a chat with him over the weekend and got to know him a bit more and know his list. And he's a big lover for Gotrek, and you'll see in his list here. He definitely goes in with the, you know, he's obviously got his Archanaut companies, he's got his Endrin riggers, he's a gun hauler, and then he's got Godtrek, and then he's got his frigate. So he's a 2-drop with this list, but what he was doing and what he abused so much with Godtrek, because he just is an unkillable force and you really, really struggle to kill him, is you just plonk him down somewhere on an objective, in their face, whatever he might be versing. You know, they got a Kronspine, they got something stupid like that. He just throws it at it and keeps it there and doesn't let it move. Or he just sits Gotrek up on an objective and says, I'm going to be here the whole game and try and deal with me. And while you're trying to deal with Gotrek, then you've got the rest of my army teleporting around, firing at you, doing a bunch of damage, and rallying on 4s, keeping everything alive. And the one thing that he's going to let you hit and get stuck in with is something that doesn't die. Really cool list. I actually really liked it, and no wonder he ended up finishing 3rd overall. Really cool list. I actually really liked it. I wish I had a Gotrek of my own for kruleboyz, because that would be really handy to have something like that in such a fragile list. And you know, KO are one of those guys that they're one of the kind of lists that once you get stuck in on top of them, they do kind of crumble quite quickly in combat, but they have the firepower to blast their way out. Having Godtrek, now you've got something that can hold yourself up, can hold things up, can be annoying for the opponent to ever have to deal with. I think it's a fantastic addition. Surprised he didn't finish, well, he finished 3rd. You can't really get much better than that. But I was surprised he didn't make it to the grand final. The Joel Graham versus Luca, didn't surprise that didn't make it, or him versus the mirror matchup. Then we got Jaden Hargraves, another really good player. Magakin and Nurgle. He's got the Blowab, he's got the Demon Spew, he's got the Glockin, he's got your Sloppity Bowl Piper, very classic Nurgle list, and no wonder he did quite well with it. I'm looking here and it looks like he is a 4-drop. He's got his Battle Reg with his Glockin, his Sloppity Bowl Piper, his General, all the Plague Bearers and Beasts of Nurgle, and one of the Nurglings in there, and then he's got one Nurgling out and the Demon Spew and Blowab separately. So he'll be 4-drop. Really cool list. Glockin's quite a cool, I guess, hero. I would say he provides a lot of utility. You know, anytime a enemy unit finishes within 12 inches, you can make a counter charge. Brilliant, especially when you're a slow-moving army. Catches, it's a bit of a noob killer. You know, if you're always constantly moving within 12 of Glockin, he's just moving up the board all the time. You're giving him extra chances. And it's not just Glockin that gets to make the counter charge. It's every Nurgle unit wholly within 18 of the Glockin. When an enemy unit finishes within 12 of that unit, you can then charge. So it's huge. You know, you got your Plague Bearers that are slow moving. You set them all up. You got your Nurglings. Normally your Nurglings, you put them in reserve and set them up in the enemy territory to get more points for yourself. Your own generated CP, and and you get your Beast of Nurgle charging in, which love to charge, retreating and charging and doing impact mortals. So the Glockin just kind of enables a lot of that. I would have liked to maybe seen a bit more Beast of Nurgle, because I know they're quite strong, but in a list like this, he didn't really have many points to play with, and if you drop a Plague Bearers, you're still short. I mean, you drop a Plague Bearers, then you're going down to 19, you'd be going down to 1970, which I think he didn't really want to drop that low, and honestly, he proved that it's obviously a good enough list to make it through to the top tables and came fourth in the end. Really great result there. Peter Bates as Seraphon. I had the honour of versing him in my first game. My very first game I versed him. Your typical Seraphon list, obviously. Spellcasting, doing a lot of damage. But the one thing he did have differently that I haven't seen before in a Seraphon list myself is these Vanguard Hunters from Stormcast Eternals. They ended up, they didn't do much damage. They didn't do a lot of, output in that sense. But he was just teleporting with them every round, moving it from here to here, out of combat into this area, into that area, being annoying, grabbing objectives, keeping me on the back foot. And we were playing Geomantic Pulse, and I found it really hard because obviously that map is very heavily movement dominated, as once one pulse gets activated, it moves across the map gradually each turn. Now the Hunters enabled him to just keep up with that movement of the map as well. Really cool list. You got your Saurus Guard, your Skinks doing range attacks as well. Saurus Warriors for a bit more beefiness, a bit more damage there. And then obviously your Pontifex who just snipe off wizards. 180 points for a Pontifex I think is absolutely broken right now. And if you are running an Order army, if I was you, I'd be looking for any way possible to free up 180 points to throw in Pontifex and Astra in there, because we're in a spellcasting, we're in a wizard heavy meta that people love their wizards, and if you can just go at the start of every round with Pontifex, you're just saying taking D3 damage, D3 damage, D3 damage to every single wizard on the board. Most wizards have 6 wounds, right? By round 2, if you roll good enough, you kill every wizard. For 180 points, you can potentially kill anywhere at minimum 100 to up to 400 points of the enemy list, and it's still pretty good in combat as well. I can't see why you wouldn't run it. 180 points is just a disgusting amount, and I think it's a great little addition for most Order armies. The fact that a Seraphon list is allying in a Pontifex for that reason tells you why a lot of people should be doing that. And then he's got your Slandmaster, he's got Kroak, he's got Skink Starseers, he was Fangs of Sotek, obviously Starborn, so doing as many spells as he can. I'll get into how our game went later on in the video, when I do a bit of a kruleboyz review on how kruleboyz went in the Auric Warclans, but we'll do that later on. Ogre Mawtribes, Dave Kerr. Now this guy ran the same list as the Cameron King from Canada. So really strong list. Ogre Mawtribes, people have been looked at. There was a big showing of them at the event. I think there ended up being 11 people running Ogre Mawtribes at the tournament. So still getting a big favour in them. He runs it a little bit different to what a lot of other people ran them. He was running more your Iron Guards and your Gluttons. Then you've got your Firebelly, your Butcher, and then you've got the Frostlord on Stonehorn. Obviously, that's like almost an auto take for just about any Ogre Mawtribe list. You really want him in there. He just provides a lot of utility, a lot of damage, and he's a great hero to have in your list. Now, the Iron Guts and the Gluttons, you've got a bit of shooting there, a bit of range to sprinkle in some shots and do a bit of damage on the entry. Then you come in, the Gluttons charge in, the Frostlord comes in, and you just melt things that are in front of it. Which is, kind of the idea of what you want to do. You pop Hoarfrost on a few things, either give them a bunch of Rand, or if you really want to, make them hit on 2s and 2s. Whatever you need them to do, you can get that Hoarfrost done with them. Really cool list. Really like it. The meat was coming through on this one. Anthony Quilty. Another guy that I got the chance to have a good talk to while I was there. Day one, he was 3-0, and I was like, geez, it's a really good place to be in. And he ended up going 5-0 for the tournament before elimination finals, so he was already up in the top 8, playing top tables, did very well. Legion of Blood. Obviously, he's got Legion of Blood, so he's running his Knights and his Blood Knights, and he's got the Felbats just to help with the battle tactic. Obviously, there's a specific battle tactic where if the Felbats die, you get a battle tactic, so it's always a good, nice one to auto-include for, 90 points. And they're pretty strong too. But here you've got the Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon. You've got your Xenastra as well. Neferata, sorry. And then you've got your White King on Skeletal Steed. So his idea here is his Vampire Lord comes in, the Neferata comes in, keeping things alive, doing a bunch of damage. The Vampire Lord kills some things, heals up again. He did say that I think by even the last round of games, he never once had the Vampire Lord or Neferata die. And we're talking like in a meta where you've got Merciless Blizzards and these big high outputs of mortal wounds that can blow up big heroes. He never lost them once, and that's kudos to him for being great with his movement, obviously doing what he needs to do to keep him safe, and then come in and punch and hit when he needs to. And this is where the Black Knights really play into this, the heavy cavalry, because your Black Knights, 130 points, great value for price. They give you the mobility, they're quite tanky and durable. The Blood Knights, the same, very durable, very tanky. And he liked them because he goes, he was saying that if you didn't lift a full squad of Blood Knights, which is already hard enough to do when you've got a 3-up save on them, okay, but if you left him with just one there, okay, he runs them out and just brings them back. Resurrects more, adds more to them, rallies on them, uses his special abilities to bring them back on a 4. Like, it was really disgusting, and I can see why he preferred that, because he just had these Blood Knights acting as a really strong anvil behind even more anvils, and a lot of damage output, being able to have the high movement as well. You're controlling the board at the same time, especially against slow moving castle armies, and then you can also find gaps in people's playstyle, and if they ever make a mistake, you can capitalize on it very quickly with high movement and charges. So really cool list, really great one. He deserves it all. And then Zach Rockman, another guy I play with quite regularly, which is always a benefit to play with. I've had a couple of games with him, and his list is very fine-tuned, and I find for a Big War list, it's very, very nice, and it really has that sweet spot of a bit of everything. You are high drop, which is fine, okay, but you've got your 2 Auric War Chanters, your Mega Boss, right, on foot. You have your Weird Knob Shaman for your teleport, obviously, with your green, the great big green hand of Gork. Your Wergog Prophet to stare things down. Obviously, you take the artifact Glowing Tattoos, have a 4-up ward on him. So all of a sudden, he just goes in, bangs, smiles, and death stares stuff down. So he has that as another little anvil. Then he's got his Swamp Caller Shaman, as his kruleboyz unit with Choking Mist, because Choking Mist is just really strong at the moment. It's really good to have in an army. He doesn't run Blizzard because obviously he's got his Wergog Prophet, which is a Blizzard on steroids, so you can afford to just take in Choking Mist there. I wonder, I'd love to have a chat with him actually to see why he hasn't taken Blizzard on one of his other heroes, because having the access to obviously the Death Stare and a Blizzard on top of it, you kind of just throwing a lot of damage out there, which if you've got 2 Blizzards in one hero phase, it's pretty disgusting. And then he runs obviously 3 units of Auric Brutes, the cheapest possible battle line you can take in Auric War Clans at the moment for any Big War list. So you run the 3 of them, your minimum battle line's completed with the minimum amount of points to spend into it, which is great. They're pretty strong. They slap in combat. You put the +1 damage on them too. They really hit hard, and they can unexpectedly kill a lot of things, and people don't really want to get stuck in combat with them too much. They're 15 wounds in the squad, so 3 wounds apiece. 4-up save though. I do hear a lot of people saying they'd like a 3-up save, but I mean, you look at the way the win rates are, and he finished top 8. I don't think they really need a huge amount of buff, honestly. I think they're pretty solid, and I think people will respect them enough to say, look, they're in a pretty decent spot. If they were a 3-up save, it'd just be a more of a quality of life thing, making them even harder on points and objectives, and they're making it hard for Horde armies to even contest objectives near them. Great. He's got the 20 Moonclown shooters for 120 points. He's been trying to convince me to run them in kruleboyz, and I really do like them. I actually might need to pick up a squad myself. You're getting 20 bodies, 20 wounds for 120 points, and you've got shooting on them, which the shooting isn't terrible. They're slightly worse than the Hobgrot slitters, but obviously you're getting the double, twice the amount of shots too, so it can kind of average out there in damage. And having 20 wounds as a big screening unit that can just flare out because they're 25mm bases, you can screen just a 20 lot around and really take up a lot of space with them. And for 120 points, you don't really care what happens to them either, which is great. Obviously, the 6-man skill Bolt Boys, nice little touch there with your Swamp Caller Shaman doing 5s and 6s mortal wounds. You spike with them as well. You have them there as a little RNG for yourself to just go bang, I'm going to kill that big thing. Awesome, dead. See you later. 18 mortal wounds, catch. Next one. Really like them. I really like Bolt Boys in a big wireless. I think just having one unit there, it helps you because obviously here he's just running the Bolt Boys and the Swamp Caller Shaman. And if you remember Sneak Up, easy free battle tactic every single game. You've got 2 units that are always going to want to stay outside of 3 of enemy units anyway, and generally if you stay next to, you're going to be near terrain anyway with them, and you're going to get obviously the cover with that terrain as well on top of it, so you're just kind of double dipping in everything there, which I really like that addition. And then he's got the Gore Grunters, a unit of 3 of Gore Grunters, and then he's got 1, 2, 3 Rager units. Single, just three models in each, none reinforced. Mighty Gore Hackers on them. Mighty Gore Hackers just the most reliable. 3s and 3s, -2, 2 damage. You put the +1 damage on them. 3s, -2, 3 damage apiece. Really consistent, running and charging. 100 points. They are an absolute steal at the moment. 100 points for the amount of damage they can output. Insane. And they're running and charging. Running and charge is such an the more I've been playing this game and playing tabletop war games, I feel like anything that can move heavily and move very far and still charge in is huge. It really changes games and catches a lot of people off guard. If you're like 20 inches away from someone, 24 inches away from someone, they don't really I'm not going to say this, but worse players, people who aren't as good at the game, won't see it coming. And that's what I find. Like, even for myself, sometimes I'm still learning the game, and I still sit there and I go, oh yeah, he's ages away. Like, he's going to have to hit a big long bomb charge, and all of a sudden he's running with, he rolls a 6 on the run, and they're moving up like 12 inches. And then you get the +1 from the big wire trade, so you're moving up like 11 inches, 12 inches up the board, and then you're rolling like a 10-inch charge on top of it, and it just gets really dirty. And he's running the Fix 'em beat, I believe it is, the Get 'em beat, sorry, where you can roll 3d6 charges too. So you can just imagine running up 11, 12 inches up on the board and being able to charge for 3d6, and you spike that too. You're kind of going anywhere you want in that battle round. It's really good. And no wonder he did really well with it. He's becoming actually a very good Orc Warclan player for Australia. I've been watching the stats and where he's ending up, and I would say he's very close to, if not rank 1 in Australia, OCE for Big War and Orc Warclans, as a destruction player too in general. Joel Graham's up there, obviously. He's played quite a lot of Big War in the past and gone quite well with them because they're just in that spot where they're just winning a lot of games and they're quite good they've got a bit of access to everything for battle tactics and very non-interactive with the game sometimes, some of their battle tactics, but a lot of books are like that. You play with what you've got and he's taking advantage of it. What I did want to quickly run to is this was the final standings at the end of day 2. This is not elimination finals. this was just where we ended up. Now you'll notice a couple of people in the top 8 here were not on this other screen. Like an honourable mention here of Sam Morgan, who also I play with. He's part of our club. He's been there for a long time now. It's really cool to see a lot of the players here who finish in the top 8, like Zach, Sam Morgan, Anthony Quilty. Who else was up here from us? Luca Forrester. He snuck into the top 8. I think they had a bit of a issue with the final standings when they were doing the results at the end of the day because of opponent, like you had to rank your opponents, things like that. But a lot of these guys, I mean, Ashley Ellis, Stormcast Eternals, he's doing very good at the moment. We all play together on a weekly basis, and it's good to know that, I don't feel as bad now. I don't feel as bad that every week I go and play and I'm just getting stomped a lot of the time. Like some games I get close and I'm like, oh, I see a win, and then nah, they take it away from me. They just beat me. And I always thought, geez, am I just bad at this game? What's going on here? And then when I start checking the overall results for OCE and checking where people are finishing up, and a lot of these guys are constantly in the top 50, top 10s, and I'm like, geez, okay, I don't feel as bad now because, I am a rookie. You got Justin Clark up here. He's doing really well too. It was his first Cancon as well, going 4-1, sorry. Awesome appearance. Jeremy Page, another guy I play with very regularly, really good player, went 4-1. A lot of these guys do very well. And I thought I'd just quickly show you the overall, the results of the overall of day 2 after the 5 rounds, so you can kind of see where people finished up, where it happened. Nathan Thompson didn't lose a game. He just won 4, drew 1, and then ended up winning the whole thing. Really good effort. Same with Peter Bates, going 4 wins, 1 draw. Really good. And on our first game, he turned up about 10 minutes late. Nearly had to forfeit the game. He just got there in time, and he was a bit hungover. Had a few too many drinks on the first day, the night before the first day, which I had to take my hat off to him because I said, mate, I never would have done that. But if you're doing it, mate, I don't care if you're 10 minutes late. Let's have a good game, and that we did. And I think it's a good time for me now to just quickly dive into a kruleboyz review. How I went, how the other kruleboyz players went, and I want to make a nice little honourable shout out to Michael Sales, who he was another kruleboyz guy who he ended up going 2-1 on day 1, and we both were 2-1, and we both had high hopes. And I know he's a viewer of the channel there, and we had a good chat about some kruleboyz stuff, and you do kind of feel like a lot of the time you're versing these really fine-tuned armies that have newer books and newer updates, and you do feel like you're pushing shit uphill. It is a bit like that. It's very hard for us to do well in these tournaments and how we go. The lists that we're versing and that are out at the moment, a lot of recurring, a lot of things coming back to life, very hard to kill, a lot of bodies. Some armies just have D3 damage to our entire army, and we've got really low bravery and shit saves, no ward saves, so whatever mortal wounds we take, we're just sitting there saying, okay, how much damage is that? 4? Okay, I'll just pick up 2 models and I'll roll Battle Shock and I'll pick up another 3, and it's really shit. And I think I'm gonna I said to myself I'll give kruleboyz a good hot crack going into Cancon, because I do like them. I do see a lot of potential there. They were my first army and the only army I've really ever played a lot of. I haven't even touched another army yet. So I'm moving into Big War at the moment because obviously it's a natural, easy conversion. I only need to pick up a couple of Iron Jaws units and I'm there. But to go over, look, when I took to Cancon and as a kruleboyz player, I mean, I can understand if most people leave the video now. It's more directed towards a kruleboyz, reviews and what we're doing, because that's what I play a lot of and where I can give a lot of insight into, and maybe what adjustments I would have made to my list. And I took Grinning Blades, War as my grand strat, Indomitable, Swamp Caller Shaman, Gobsprack, Snatcher Boss on Slide Draker, right? That was my 4 heroes. Bit of everything, trying to keep it all within there. I was running Andorian Acolytes, and then I ran Battle Rage and Battle Rage, so 4 drop. I took Mork's Eye Pebble and Fasten. Mork's Eye Pebble didn't end up really doing much for me because I didn't really verse any heavy shooting armies for the entire time. So I didn't really get much value out of it. So again, proving why kruleboyz are in a bad spot. Our artifacts are absolute hot garbage, and there's games where you actually just won't even use your artifact. So sometimes I sit there and wonder, maybe Amulet of Destiny is worth it, because at least then no matter what, you're going to get value out of it every single game. But Mork's Eye Pebble just kind of shores up any heavy shooting KO lists, or like there was a guy in this tournament that went like 77 Bliss Barb Archers. Those sorts of matchups, you would have been like, okay, sweet, I'm glad I got Mork's Eye Pebble. And your Grinning Blades too, so it's just even cucking them even harder. You got your 20 Gut Rippers, 2 units. You got 2 units of Battle Line Hobgrots with a Beast Skewer Killbow. I ran 2 units of 6 Manskill Bolt Boys, the Monster Killers, and another unit of Hobgrots. 1965 as well points. I know I was a bit shy, but one thing I will say that I really liked about being a bit lower on the points, being 35 points under, I got my triumph every game. And there were some times there where I was just able to auto pass 2 units and just say they were my 2 front screens that you've just hit, and I've auto passed both of them. It just kept me alive a lot longer, and having access to that every single game really came in clutch. I use it every game, and it always made me just go deep breath, because I could just pass on the Battle Shock. Awesome, I'm not going to just randomly lose a whole unit here. The Beast Skewer Killbow, what an MVP that this tournament it was. Huge MVP for me. Was doing damage to everything, every big hero or monster that came near it. It never let me down once. It hit every time, and it was averaging like 8 damage per shooting phase. Every time a big enough hero was near it anyways. Like my Nurgle game, when I versed Nurgle, and he had the Glockin and the Great Unclean One just moving up towards me, and he took first turn, moved up into 24 inches. Straight away, my my Killbow did 9 or 8 damage to his Great Unclean One. Obviously, he had the ward save, so he saved a couple of it, but it ended up doing 6 damage for 80 points. Awesome. The next round, I pumped all the Bolt Boys obviously into the Great Unclean One and killed it. The next round, the Great Unclean One lived a little bit. I was then able to finish the Great Unclean One the following round with one of the Bolt Boys, and then I hit his Glockin for 11 damage. And he only saved 2 of them, so he took 9. So you think about it, that game, he pretty much single-handedly killed a Glockin worth of a Great Unclean One worth of wounds in damage for 80 points. He even said, like, what the fuck is that unit? How is that 80 points? I said, yep, it's a bloody great one. And I found the sweet spot of having multiple screens. I've tried a lot of times running more Bolt Boys and going more. Maybe it's just not my playstyle. I know a lot of guys at LVO did well with it, but for me, I just find that running the 3 units of Hobgrots, Monster Killers, and 2 Gut Ripper lines. I mean, you've got 2 Hobgrots in the front first screen. You got the option to super sneaky this other unit of Hobgrot, which is not your battle line, right in front of them to choke off an area. So now you've got 1 screen, you got 2 screens, 3 screens, and then your Monster Killers sprinkled in for a 4th screen with your Slide Draker. So you're pretty much saying that it's near impossible. You're not as scared as getting double turned early in the game if you have to take turn 1, because you can screen off nicely. Especially against armies that are nowadays just very heavy melee focused. I really did like it. One thing I would change though, drop Andorian Acolytes, go to a 2-drop. I lost against Stormcast Eternals with their Annihilator spam and dropping in, doing mortal wounds to everything within 10 inches. Really annoyed me. I did play that game really bad myself, made a big mistake and left a gap in the back of my army. Really rookie move. We'll never do that again, trust me. But if I was 2-drop there instead of 4-drop, I actually won prio, and it means I would have outdropped him, which means I could have just said, you take first turn, whereas I had to take first turn and missed a whole round of shooting again, because I had to spread everything out and fill up my deployment so I don't get dropped on. If I was able to give him turn 1 there, it meant that he would have had to drop somewhere in front of me. I could have literally just stood still, just about, and just kept hitting things. Whereas, because I took first turn, I wanted to move up and grab some objectives and start moving out of my deployment, and I mistakenly moved one unit I shouldn't have moved, made a mistake, and got punished for it and lost the game. There and there. Lost the game. Terrible game by my front. And again, against... so that game I would have won if I was 2-drop. Against Nurgle, I would have won deployment there and taken the turn, and although I still won that game, it wasn't a huge disadvantage, but because he had the opportunity to give me turn 1, you know, I think he deployed into my 24-inch range, which I wouldn't have been mad about taking first turn there anyway, if he made me take it. But if he deployed outside of my 24, just out, like 24.1 inches, and forced me to take turn 1, that would have ruined my day, and I think it probably would have been a completely different game. But he wanted to take turn 1, deploy right on the deployment line, and move straight on into me as fast as possible, which just wasn't the right idea, because it just meant that all 12 bolt boys and the killbow could shoot his Glock in, and his great unclean one, and pretty much lift at turn 1. So yeah, being 2-drop there would have saved me those, would have secured those 2 games 100%, even though I still won one of them. The other game that I lost against Seraphon versus Peter Bates, as I said, it's a losing matchup. It's a very, very hard matchup. You just kind of got to YOLO in, like what I did. YOLO in, super sneaky forward of bolt boys, fasten up your Sludge Draco right behind them, giving them a +1 damage on the 6s. I moved them in just outside of his slan, his general. Moved up, did 14 mortal wounds to the slan. I did 12 mortal wounds, and then 1 damage went through because he failed his save, so I did 14 damage. And then he goes and rolls 6 6s, and his slan lived on 1 HP. And I went on and charged in with Gobsprak. This is top of round 1, by the way. Gobsprak charged in, monstrous action, destroyed his terrain feature, so that was gone top of round 1, and then I charged in and killed his Pontifex top of round 1 as well. So I was 1 damage away from killing his general, in addition, and if he rolled 1 less 6, I think we both said there and then that it probably would have been GG, but you know, you can't win them all. It is one of those matchups that you've got to get super lucky on, and they've got to roll super bad to win. And I did roll really good. Not gonna lie, everything went my way, but a lot of things went his way when it needed to the most. He got there in the end. If I go over Michael's sales list as well, he had a nice little grinning blades as well. Wah, inspired. Probably should have gone Indomitable, but I think he's 2,000 points on the dot anyways, it didn't matter. He had his Killer Boss on Vulture. Cool unit, fast moving, Arcane Tome, fasten, you get around the map very quickly. You got your Gobsprak, your Maya Brute, your Swamp Boss Scumdrek, 2 Swamp Caller Shamans, 1 with Blizzard, 1 with Choking Mist. Awesome. Then you've got your Gut Rippers, Hobgrots, 6 and 3 Bolt Boys, and then he went the 2 Beastkeeper Killbows, and he was having a lot of fun with those, setting them up on objectives, setting them around the map, and just denying zones and scaring the opponent away from saying, if you bring any heroes near here, I'm going to snipe it, which is it's a threat in itself for 80 points, and people don't really want to test the RNG on it, because if you get good RNG, you pretty much kill just about, you can nearly one-shot something with it, which is, you know, annoying, or at least get them down low enough where even a Gut Ripper unit can just, all they need to do is roll 1-6 and they finish it off. So they're quite scary to have them around. You know, obviously the Swamp Boss Scumdrek, really cool. I like it because you got the Hobgrots, and then you can pick another unit that will die first. In a list like this with Scumdrek, if this is going to be your counting crew, I'm just thinking what would be your bet to make sure you get a triumph. I'm assuming it would probably just be one of the unit your Gut Rippers that you're screening at the front. and just, if you want to, you can super sneaking them forward and say deal with them. If you don't, okay, they just stand there and be annoying. If you do, I get a triumph. Awesome. I generally like Swamp Boss Scumdrek when you got 2 units of Hobgrots, so you can kind of just throw away 80 points of Hobgrots in their face and just kind of get them bogged down, and even charge in and just say, yeah, you got to kill them. Give me my triumph. I get an extra triumph here. Really cool. Do like the list. Who else was there? There was Michael Healy and Craig Anderson. Michael Healy went 1 and 4. Craig Anderson went 1 and 4 as well. Let's just quickly see. Crumper Mall. Okay, hard one to get off. Indomitable, yep. I mean, Crumper Mall makes sense. Grinning Blades too. Snatcher Boss, super sneaky. Beast Killer Slop. Okay, you got Fasten. Then you've got the Betmaster. Swamp Boss Scumdrek. So you went double those. You got Gobsprak. You got Killer Boss on Nashtu. Swamp Cooler Shaman. Both are Blizzards. You got 20 Gut Rippers. 10 Hobgrot Slitters. So he's got the counting crew. Okay, so he's got the Hobgrot Slitters is a counting crew. Yep. Manskill Bolt Boys. Okay, and he went 4 drop as well. No, 6 drop. 6 drop, yeah. I see here. Interesting. I mean, I do like the idea of 2 Sludge Rakers. You get your Swamp Boss and your Snatcher Boss. And he's got the Killer Boss on Nashtooth. Like, Killer Boss on Nashtooth is a nice addition, but you've only got 30 bodies. How many points was he? 1990. Yeah. I mean, you could have just dropped this into a foot hero if that's what you wanted from it. I mean, I guess you get the movement out of it and the objective control, but for 10 wounds on a 3 up for 120 points, it's great value. Don't get me wrong, but then you're also going up a drop. You take the foot hero, you just pop him in your battle reg. You know what I mean? You got Andorian Acolytes, chuck him in one battle reg. Or in one of your battle regs. So instead of being, what are you, 6 drops, you could just be 4 drop. What's being your... So because you're running... Yeah, okay, yeah. So you're going to be no matter what 5 drop in a list like this, because you got the Gobsprak, 2 Snatcher Bosses. So that's 3 drop minimum. So you could drop Andorian Acolyte and go down to a 3 drop in a list like this. You got 20. I think you're like... I like the list. I like what you're trying to do. I do feel like if you're going to be running 2 units of 2 Snatcher Bosses, it's worth running more Gut Rippers or more Hobgrot Slitters. Maybe just running 1 6-man Bolt Boys. Okay, and just going more into these, and then swapping this out for a foot hero. So try and go more Gut Rippers, and then that way you've got like 20 and 20 Gut Rippers with your Swamp Boss Scumdrek to move up the board, and then you got those 3 units that can move up, charge in, do a bit of damage. You're getting your 6s on hit are 2 mortal wounds apiece, getting that out, and then you've got your 6 Bolt Boys in the back with another Swamp Boss, giving them extra damage. You got your Swamp Cooler Shaman, and the other Swamp Cooler Shaman too can even just give Gut Rippers mortal wounds on 5s and 6s. So if you're running 20 of them, you've got heaps of heaps of attacks. It's actually pretty good value. And then you can always just move that other one to the other Snatcher Boss and things like that. I think that's where the direction that I would be going in a list like this. But so it's very hard to turn away 12 Bolt Boys. I know the feeling. Don't worry. Craig Anderson, Big Yellers, Barren Landscape, Cool Artifacts, No Artifact. Yep, okay. And then we've got let's see, Buzzard. So you got your Vulture, Killer Boss on Nashtooth, Swampcaller Potgrot, Swampcaller Shaman, Maya Brute, Hobgrot Slitters, Gut Rippers, Manskewer Bolt Boys, Beastkewer Killbow, and you got 1, and then you got 2 units of Monster Killers. Interesting. And he's what, 3 drop? 3 drop, because he's running the Brute, the Snatcher Boss, And wait, yeah, Killer Boss. Oh, he didn't even have a Sludge Raker. No. So he just went the Vulture, Gnashtooth, and My Brute Troggoth. Yeah, so it looks like he's just taken what he's had. He probably hasn't got the Sludge Raker yet, I'm assuming. I would just throw this out. I would just take out the My Brute, add in a Sludge Raker, and maybe just take out one of these as well. And that should give you enough points to be 2k on the dot. And if you're just over, just do a Scumdrek instead for 10 points cheaper, and I think that will round out your list a bit more. But I do I see why you want the 2 monster killers here, and then you got the 10 Hobgrots, and then you've got 20 Hobgrots and 10. So you got more bodies, and you're running a reinforced 9, and then 3 and 3 with 1 Swampcrawler Shaman. Okay, so I see why you've done that. Yeah. So I see why. I was going to say, why would you split them up? But if you've only got 1 Swampcrawler Shaman, then max double reinforce 1. That's where your poisons are going, and then you're just getting more shots out of these two because you're getting a champion in both. So you're getting 1 extra shot instead of running a group of 6. You're on 2 groups of 3. You're getting an extra shot in on those just for running them 2 individually, but you're getting no 5 hits. Yeah, I think you definitely want another Shaman if you're going to be going this. At least 1 more Shaman. Put these in a squad of 2. Just reinforce one of them, and then drop one of the monster killers, take in a Swamp Boss Scumdrek, take out the Gnashtooth if you want to, or keep it in. Take out the Gnashtooth if you're really short on, if you find it hard on points, you can take out the Gnashtooth and the My Brute Troggoth, which would be 300 points, and throw in a Sludge Raker. And then you need another Shaman too, which you could, because then you could go the Scumdrek, so you're at 280, so you got 20 points, and then just drop one of the Beast Skewer Killbows, in my opinion. Drop one of the Beast Skewer Killbows and throw in a Shaman, if you want to try something different. So that way you're getting your Snatcher Boss to make your, obviously your big yellers, you want more hitting power to hit harder. If you really want to keep both Beast Skewer Killbows, get rid of one of the Hobgrot Slitters, then you're keeping still both of your monster killers too. Because I don't think, I know the Killer Boss is nice on the Killer Boss on Gnashtooth is nice for 120 points, but I just think you're not running enough bodies of screens that are going to live through damage anyway. They're going to take advantage of his, what is it, Egomaniac or something, to avoid battle shock. You know, you got 16 wounds in each monster killer, 10 wounds in the Hobgrot Slitters. Hobgrot Slitters fall over, they're dead anyway. The Gut Rippers, okay, sometimes they live with 1 or 2 models left, could be nice. You got 16 wounds in your monster killers, they fall over too. So I think you're not really getting much out of the Killer Boss on Gnashtooth, other than, you know, a 3-up save with Mystic Shield and all that defense. You're putting him on a 2-up for sure. He's a nice little anvil to have, and he's our only thing that's closest to a cavalry unit and an anvil. And he can do some decent damage, so I see he's a good value. Don't get me wrong, 120 points, awesome. If you can fit him in a list, definitely do it. And the My Brute's good too. I just think he's very slow, doesn't do enough damage. But yeah, I thought I'd wrap it up. We've been talking for a little while now, so I'll wrap this one up for you guys. It was awesome chatting. Hope you guys got something out of it. If you got any questions, let me know. And keep on wargaming.